Dicaprio y el extraordinario director y la mente detrás de esta increíble película, el director Paul Thomas Anderson. Welcome. Welcome, guys. I'm going to switch to English now. You can sit down. Thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to talk with me and to be with the press. How's Mexico treating you so far?
I was just saying, we have to get out of here. We're going to weigh 300 pounds if we stay here any longer. The food and the hospitality is so amazing. We've had such a wonderful time so far. Beautiful. That's my first time here.
Oh wow, it's your first time.
Yeah.
It's your baptized here in Mexico then.
Amazing.
That's great. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to start by talking about, like the big picture, the process behind the creation and the vision of the film. So I've seen that your film has been described as a roller coaster, but with human core. So I want to ask you, how did you navigate that different mix of genre when it demanded so much flexibility?
Well, I think that the things that I normally love in movie are the characters. Those are the things that I gravitate towards the most. So that's just kind of my main attraction. But for this, what was interesting to go into the story and really be determined to make an action film. Now, it doesn't have a traditional plot of an action film, but to give it the momentum that you would get in an action film. Every action has a reaction. Everything is constantly being, there's dramatic tension all the way throughout. Everything leads to another thing, leads to another. And that contributes, I hope, to that roller coaster feeling. And I think maybe the reason why the film seemed to be connecting is that you can never get away from the thing you really love, which is the characters, and that's the thing that I really love. So for us, it was really hard to put these characters that we love in tremendous situations and see how they react.
Create that special bond between the character and the audience, right?
That's right.
So now we have a question from Skyview Mexico, from Julieta Sanchez. She asks, this is for all of you, why did you decide to join this project, and what was it in the script that truly spoke to you?
Well, first off, Paul Thomas Anderson calls you for a project. You, like Benicio said, you say yes first, then you read the script. He's created such unique worlds that you feel immersed in. And for this one, the fact that I love films that have a tremendous amount of thought put in them, that have layers to them that are unpredictable in their nature. And Paul started writing this 16 years ago, 17 years ago, and it's so topical to the world that we live in, but it's so entertaining at its core, and these characters have, these three characters have such a humanity to them. They're flawed characters that are trying to make their way in a world of extremes. I just love that he tackled this issue, and again, it's not an issue that he's tackling, but he's ultimately holding a mirror up to society right now in the world that we live in, and we get to see it through these eyes of these people that are trying to come together and find a form, trying to find a humanity in helping each other out. They're human, real characters that everyone can relate to when they see the film.
What about you, Chase? What dragged you into this project with Paul?
I mean, I think, like Leo said, if Paul calls, nobody's ever going to say no. And just getting the chance to be on his set, which are the ultimate master classes, and to work with like Leonardo Dicaprio, Benicio del Toro, Sean Penn, Regina Hall, and Teyana Taylor, it's a chance that I was never going to pass up. But also getting to work with him and workshop like Willa and her character and learn more about him and his process, I think that really made me fall in love with the project more than anything.
That's right, and Benicio?
Las tres letras. P-T-A. Paul Thomas Anderson, como dice, like Leo was saying, he creates a real original story, unpredictable, full of humanity, humor. Every character is three-dimensional, even the bad guys. And he explores the human condition, this great action-driven, charging story. That's the first thing. And then it's the cast, which is Leo was attached to it. I've always wanted to work with Leo. Sean Penn is one of those actors that I've also admired since I first started. And then Tiana Taylor, Gina Hall, and then this one over here. It was a bucket of lightning. She lights up that screen, and it was a pleasure to work with her.
It's a beautiful description. Thank you for sharing that with me. And Paul, we all know here, we are all big fans of your work, that you have traveled so many different worlds and concepts, from fashion, oil, young love, cults, even porn. So now you decide to tell a story of a father and a daughter in the middle of drama and comedy at the same time. So what basically led you to this path in this new creative process for you?
Well, I mean, quite obviously and quite honestly, I have children of my own. I have 3 daughters, so it was very easy for me to connect to Bob. It was very easy for me to cherish Willa and feel deeply about her, and to write a scenario like this, it was not far away from my life. I don't sit around smoking pot all day on the couch, like Bob or something like that, but I think any parent always feels a little bit like a failure, and always, those first years of fatherhood are so magical, and then they start to turn into this, and they have their own minds, their own yearnings, their own desires, and in that kind of transition of letting them blossom into that was very easy for me to understand. It was very close to my fingertips. So, yeah, we have a lot of wonderful characters in this movie, terrific kind of supporting players, but the heart of the movie is where my heart is with the 2 of them.
Relationship, father,
That's right, yeah.
core. All right, so Leo, there's something really interesting about the movie, and I don't know if you will agree, Paul, but I feel like it presents that laughter and pain are not necessarily opposites, but part of the same human experience. So I wanted to know, what did you discover in playing these scenes where you could both be in pain and also in laughter?
Well, the laughter came kind of naturally, the humor came naturally by the predicaments that Paul put in place. You have these traditional tropes for a character that you have expectations for, that a man coming from the world of espionage, being a revolutionary, is going to have all the right answers. How to be a father, how to get his daughter back. But he sets it up in such a real life circumstance where he's having an argument with his daughter when you first meet them 16 years later. He's trying to connect with the new generation, trying to be a good father, but they're not relating. And then that one singular idea that Paul set up, which doesn't make it a traditional sort of heroic character, is the fact that he can't even remember the password. He's a series of mistakes, but it's in his sheer act of moving forward and persevering that makes him heroic. And that was, I think, something that we kind of discovered as we went along. Every time we came to these very dramatic points, and Paul's very malleable with actors, he's open to new ideas. Every time we came to these very dramatic points of heroism, we kind of decided to go the opposite direction, and then it culminates, without giving the ending away, in this very powerful scene between a father and a daughter. And his heroism is his sheer act of being there and being present.
All right. And now that we're talking about the view you had, Paul, on the story and how you created it, well, it's the first time for some to work with Paul, well, for all of you. But this is a question for Chase. This is from Cine Brazil, from Nicole Bastos. She asked, Chase, this is your debut in cinema, surrounded by a star-studded cast and director. What did you learn from everyone that you will carry into your own career?
I feel like there was so much that I learned from everybody. Like I said earlier, Paul selected the ultimate masterclass, and he just gives you so much freedom to play and just experiment with everybody else. But getting to work opposite Leonardo Dicaprio and Benicio, and then everyone who's not here, like Sean and Regina and Tayana, they all gave so many incredible performances, but showed so much compassion to everybody on set and really trusted each other. And Leo especially and Paul like showed so much gentle leadership, and I think that all of those things that they taught me are very special to me, and I'm very grateful for all of them.
Thank you. And Benicio, can you share a little bit with us on how you created this very special world that your character lives in? Sensei, please. Thank you.
It all comes from the script. I think Paul had the beginning of the character and the ending of the character. We explored the whole journey of the character, and together we just came up with what you see. Part of that is that Paul loves the process of the actor, and also did something that was very cool too, which is he brought a lot of non-actors to participate with us as actors. And I've seen it described that my character is a leader, and perhaps the seed of that really started when we were forced to include these non-actors to participate and believe what we actors need to convey. So Leo and myself, we had to be leaders for these non-actors to follow us. And I think we achieved that. And I think that sparked the chemistry between Leo's character and my character. And if I may add, the whole idea is, I think Sensei is the perfect friend. And I know Paul a little bit, and he's got a lot of friends. He's very loyal with his friends. You can see here how he dedicates the film to the first AD, Adam Suckner. And so, I think everything comes from his, and he just allows the actor to bring yourself into it, to help it, become real.
And you mentioned the non-actors, the actors, so it's very clear that making a film requires like a whole village, right? And also, I learned and we heard that you made some of your physical stunts. So I think that this movie, it's a variation of generations, as you mentioned. So what dynamics can you and everyone help bring through to the story? I mean, what things were you doing maybe off set or even on set that helped build that dynamic to bring the characters in a more deep life? For everyone, yes.
Everybody? I mean, well, I think, luckily, Leo and Benicio and I have known each other for a while, so there's a friendship and a mutual respect there, and the same thing with Sean too, So I think to Benny's point, which is interesting, that you do feel as if you're the leaders and that you are inviting people to come to the party, to come to collaborate with you, and I think that maybe, one thing I would say is I think we all take the work very seriously. We don't take ourselves very seriously. I think that we like to have a good time. We like to work very hard. I think one of the benefits that we had in this film is being on location. We were like a very traveling circus. We would be in Northern California. We went all over California and to El Paso. And so when you have those kinds of journeys together, it puts you in a better kind of a headspace, a team space, You're living somewhere together, really going to work together, and there's just a unified front to try to do good work and to have a good time doing it. To your point about taking a village, I mean, this is like the smallest portion of the people that made this movie. There's so many people that really made this movie with us, behind us, that I've worked with for years and years and years, and maybe you've heard people talk about filmmaking as a family before. When it's at its best, it really is that way. And I don't know. We were happy to go to work every day. That's a good feeling.
about you, Leo? Do you feel that there were any dynamics that help you, like create the characters or?
Paul said it best. I think that the dynamics, the greatest gift you can have as an actor is to walk into an ecosystem on set where you know there's been a tremendous amount of thought already put into it. And that doesn't mean just the story or the camera work. It's the details of being able to work with non-actors, real people, being on these real locations that inform your character, being a part of a culture that gives you ideas, you know. And it's a tremendous gift to not have to think about all of those things and to just focus on, like Benicio said, telling the truth of your character and listening to the people around you. And Paul created that in an amazing way in this movie. I said it so many times, but there's so much thought put into this film. There's so many unexpected twists and turns, and he almost created its own, you know, its own universe in a modern day context. I've talked about Star Wars before, but it's true. We created like a Star Wars universe in this world, and I think people are going to have an amazing time watching this movie, especially in the theater, because it's a film that's really made for that theatrical experience.
Great. And Chase, I saw you smiling when Leo said universe, like you agreed. So if you can add up a little bit to his answer as well and the dynamics question, please.
Yeah, I think like to echo what the two of them have said, like Paul does a fantastic job, and everyone else who works on the film, whether they be on the stage or not, creating that family and creating a space that you feel safe. And I think that also makes you excited to go to work every day and excited to see everyone else in the cast and crew. But yeah, I mean, I'm literally just completely echoing what they said because they said it best.
Perfect. So now I have a question for you, Benicio. This film is about survival, but also it's about legacy. So what do you think Sergio represents for the next generation in the story, and how did you bring that across in your performance?
Well, I think it's basically what I just said earlier. I brought that into the performances. Comes from the story, from the part that Paul offered me, and I think that Sensei is like he's an American hero. He's a friend that, you know, we all want. And how did I bring that up? I just reacted a lot from what Leo was throwing my way, and there's a little crucial little moment in there where I do a selfie with Leo, and that brought some humanity to the character, which comes from the script, which is Sensei. It's a little bit himself, a little bit of a revolutionary. He's doing a humanitarian, and he's going against forces. Let's call them forces. And so, but then he finds out that Leo's character is the Rocket Man. And in my mind, and I think we talked about it too, you know, that's one of Sensei's heroes. And, you know, we decided that it would be funny if I take a picture and document that, just kind of like we're being documented a little bit. I'm not saying I'm your hero, but, you know, so it brought that sense to the character that it's easy for me because I've been a fan of Leo, so I was a fan for a moment there, and we took the picture. But you know, I think that brings an angle to the character, a dimension to the character that makes it very original, very human.
Great. And Paul, we have also discussed the mix of genres. We have discussed like the impact of the story, but even like the action and the comedy that you brought to it. But I think that beneath all of that, there's also a story about wounds, about resilience, and about even like hidden truths. So I want to ask you, what conversations do you hope this movie opens between the audience when they see the film?
My God, that's a great question, and one I feel completely unprepared to answer, because it's a big question, you know. I don't, you know, a friend of mine came out of the movie the other night, and he said, I don't want to talk about this right now, I just want to feel it. I love that. I love that feeling. I hope he does want to talk about it with me one day. But I think the film, I hope, if anything, that there's an optimism to it that I hope comes through. I feel optimistic when I look at Chase, when I look at another generation coming up behind us. I see it in my kids. I see it in her performance. I get optimistic about the future of movies are going to be in good hands, and she's going to be on that screen. So the end of the movie is her. You know, the end of the movie is handing off the journey to her, the fight to her, and so that makes me optimistic. So I hope that comes through in the film. I hope that will be a currency within the conversations about the film, or a feeling at least.
Feeling.
Yeah.
That's stronger, right? So Chase, now that we know a little bit more about how did you feel sharing the screens with Oscar winners and veteran actors, because this can be both like a huge challenge, but also a great inspiration for you.
Wait, I want to just say something. I think the question is, were they nervous to work with her? Because
were you guys nervous to work with Chase?
Because Leo and I were very nervous, very concerned with her the first day. I'm answering for you, I'm interrupting. But we were very concerned. We said, well, we have to really keep an eye out for her. It's her first movie, you know. Really like annoying, kind of babying her a little bit, like, are you okay? And she's kind of looking at us like, I'm fine, let's go. And we realized that we were nervous, and we really didn't have anything to worry about with her, but now you can answer the question. So I just wanted to say
It was the question was the other way, right? No, but thank you for sharing that with us. So Chase, was there a moment on set that made you feel you were growing as an actress, particularly with this exchange of generations?
Oh, for sure. I think like getting to work with like Paul and Leo and Benicio, and then again the people who aren't here, Sean, Regina, and Tiana. I think that just getting to be a student and observe them every day, I found myself being like, oh my gosh, I'm growing in ways that I never could have imagined growing, and just getting the chance to observe them, and then observe Paul interacting with the rest of the crew, and then observing every other department within the crew was such a gift. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think this is the last question, which is open to you. Is there anything else you want to add about One Battle After Another, now that we will be able to see it in cinemas very soon?
I want to echo something that Leo is so good about saying, is that it's like you want to get on your knees and beg people to come to the theater, because we really, that's what we have bet on this. I think that we grew up in a time where we went to the movies. We didn't know anything other than going to the movies. And so now here we are, and we made something that is really dedicated to be seen big, gigantic, and loud, and with a lot of people. I think the experiences that we've had, we all watched the movie together, you know, alone or with a few friends or something like that, but it was nothing compared to the feeling that we all had when we were in a crowded movie theater. We kind of achieved liftoff together. At certain moments, you just felt in the audience all kind of lifting up out of their seats together, and it's just a communal feeling that, oh, it's amazing, isn't it? Amazing when that happens. So just the encouragement of that, to support that experience, that's really what we're hoping for.
And I think there's no way that people can miss to watch that chase on the big screen.
That's right.
Get some maybe Dramamine. No, it's great. Congratulations. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. We learned a lot about the movie, and for people who hasn't seen the film, remember, I'm going to switch to Spanish. Recuerden que la película se estrena el 25 de septiembre y también traten de verla en IMAX para que puedan disfrutar completamente esa experiencia tan inmersiva que es la película, que está llena de conceptos e ideas súper interesantes del director Paul Thomas Anderson. And before we wrap, guys, can you please stand here for a quick picture from those cameras, please? Ya lo dije, pero lo vuelvo a repetir, la película se estrena el 25 de septiembre. Muchas gracias al elenco, al director también, y por supuesto a todo el equipo de Warner Bros. México que hizo posible esta conferencia. Gracias a todos los miembros de la prensa por acompañarnos, también a creadores de contenido por haber estado presentes. Esperemos que puedan tener mucha información para sus medios de esta plática. Y bueno, si pueden ver la película, como lo mencioné, en IMAX, qué mejor para que puedan disfrutarla en la pantalla grande. 25 de septiembre. Muchas gracias a todos. Muchas gracias a Warner Bros. And thank you so much, guys, for your time.